Good evening and welcome to Freedom is a Constant Struggle with your host Kilu Nyasha and engineer Stephen Leader. And this evening I'm very pleased to bring back to the TV station SF Live Emiliano Echeverria and Pierre Labossiere. They're very dear friends of mine, good comrade brothers, and we've worked together over the many years. And Emiliano was one of the original Freedom is a Constant Struggle producers on Pacifica Radio, and he was my coordinator when I was doing Freedom on KPFA airwaves. And he's a scholar on Central America, and he's frequented both Central America and Caribbean, especially Cuba. And we're going to talk about Honduras with Emiliano. And Pierre Labossiere is with the Haiti Action Committee, co-founder. He's been an activist in the Bay Area, very well known for his activism, and on not just Haiti, but on many fronts, especially political prisoners, among other issues. And we're just delighted to have you both back on Freedom is a Constant Struggle. Welcome.
Thank you, Kilo.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we'll start off with alphabetically with Emiliano.
They always do that to me now, don't they?
Emiliano, the coup d'etat that took place about 118 days ago in Honduras, which ousted the duly elected President Manuel Zelaya, and installed Micheletti. His first name is escaped. Roberto Micheletti. Will you talk a little bit about that coup d'etat?
Well, we have to talk about the coup d'etat in Honduras in the context of Central America and its history. Central America has been the scene of many, many coup d'etats over the last 150 years, most of them sponsored by the United States of America or corporations headquartered here in this country. So because of that, this brings us to a lot of attention to what's happening in Honduras, because there's been a move in the last few years to try to bring democracy and elected due process to Central America, which has really been a foreign concept there. And so there's been a lot of progress made, but there's still much to be made, and Zelaya was taking it to the next level, and it was a very modest step, to be really frank with you. It was a very, very modest step that he was taking it to the next level. He wasn't taking it anywhere approaching what Fidel Castro has done, or what even Hugo Chavez has done, or what they've done in Ecuador. So this was a very modest step, but one has to understand that the oligarchy in Honduras is very, very, very deeply entrenched. They've been deeply entrenched for hundreds of years, and this was an incident for them. They're in this for the long haul.
Right. And Pierre Labossiere, I wanted to have you talk a little bit about the 2004 coup d'etat that ousted Jean-Bertrand Aristide, who is now in exile in South Africa. Talk about that, and then we'll talk about the similarities of these kidnappings.
Yes. And I want to hold up this book, and it's a book by President Aristide, and it details the first coup d'etat, the coup d'etat of 1991, September 91, through October 94, when he returned to Haiti. He spent 3 years in exile, and there are many similarities, and the title of the book is Dignity. Mm-hmm. And people can find it online. You can ask your bookstores, your independent bookstores, to order it for you. And that book has been suppressed because it tells many truths about what had happened, and many of the similarities with the coup in Honduras.
Right, because this is not a brand new book. It
was published in 1996.
Right. And I just got it from you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible read. And but the President Aristide was, again, after he went back to Haiti in 94, he was in office. Then President Preval, there was an election 95, 96, and President Preval took over in 96 for 5 years. And the people re-elected President Aristide again in 2001 when he took office. And again, what Emiliano was describing is very similar to what happened in Haiti. This oligarchy is very well entrenched. They have great, strong powerful connections with the U.S., with the oligarchs in the U.S., in France, and now Canada has jumped into the fray. And so there was a kidnapping of President Aristide because he was really taking the country to the next level. His slogan was democratizing democracy. That means we are now that the people have voted, but we have to get the institutions in the country to work to the benefit of the people.
Right.
And that means looking at the corporations that are in Haiti, our natural resources, who's taking that, renegotiating those contracts, looking at and using the resources of the country to benefit the people.
Right.
And then he was kidnapped in the year of the bicentennial of Haiti in 2004.
In February of 2004.
By U.S. Special Forces, again with Canadian and French help. And he was taken out of the country and is now in exile in South Africa.
Right. And the thing that I noticed that both presidents, Zelaya and Aristide, had in common was they both attempted to raise the minimum wage for workers, and it surprised me that to learn that the wages were almost the same, that they were trying to get wages up to about $5 a day as opposed to $2 a day or $2.50 a day. Elaborate on that, Emiliano.
Well, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Haiti are the poorest countries in this hemisphere.
Right.
And so,
1, 2, 3.
Because of this, and because of the long history of exploitation by the United States and European powers in these countries, there's been a standard of living maintained for a broad mass of the people in these countries to keep them ill-educated, ill-clothed, ill-housed, and unable to manage their own affairs and take care of themselves. In the last few years, people like Zelaya and Aristide before him were making legitimate attempts within the communities of these countries to raise the standard, to raise up the bottom,
right.
And to bring people into a living standard that could be considered even just barely sustainable. Not even talking luxurious, or we're not talking about a house on a hill or anything like that. We're just talking about maybe even the barest necessities, like for example, running water and a cement floor.
Mm-hmm. Right, it's like Aristide used to say, from misery to poverty with dignity.
That's correct.
Because raising a minimum wage from $2 to $4 a day or $5 a day is not going to bring anybody out of poverty. It's going to bring them out of misery,
That's
abject
right.
misery. So talk a little bit about the companies that and corporations, especially the U.S. corporations that are exploiting Haitians and